movement on that?
No, and what they're gonna have to do is that, they told me they have to drain the pool in order to do that. And that doesn't seem like that's right, but that's what David said to me. So obviously I didn't wanna do that during the summer. And I will touch back with them and maybe we will do that. You wanna maybe get a work order on that and drain the pool? And actually, you know, I wouldn't really mind that because there's a couple other spots where that stuff that they spray on it, it's on the bottom of the pool, there's a couple of patches where it's coming off.
You might have them give you a bid on redoing the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's been,
16 years.
yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get that.
What do you call that? It's guanite. Maybe they can re-guanite the whole thing. I'll talk to them to see about the reasonability of that and what it would cost.
But they gotta take the cover off, if they
Just wait till the spring before you open it up.
Well, if you do that, what you could get into is they're so busy, they have so much other work.
Well, we need to get them
Yeah,
on the
just get 'em
schedule,
on
that's the
the
problem, I
schedule.
mean, we keep putting it off and putting it off, and it's never
Yeah.
gonna get done. So
Yeah.
let's get on the schedule,
Okay,
do it now, not wait.
I agree. I can do it now. I will call them tomorrow.
Thank you. Complaints, next issue was complaints. I have not contacted the county commissioner about getting the speed limit signs. I will put that on my to-dos.
And did we agree on what speed limit we're gonna do?
No.
I thought there was something that the county read, the P and Z had, but I can't find it anywhere.
I would like to see it be 25.
Yeah, I think-
That's what I was
I think it's
25.
Okay, you want to go down.
Two mowing notices were sent out. County road will be weeded at the crossings. Oh.
Yeah, you were gonna weed eat where
Oh, you mean,
the roads are,
okay,
so that you can see the holes.
so I did weed and I need to do it again at the bridge and at the,
Yeah. Low water crossings is what they mean.
so that was done. The next item is pea gravel was obtained for the pool and pavilion. Thank you, Jim, Paul, and Rob.
Yeah, we did it. We did all the work.
Appreciate that. Looks
Yep.
good.
Thank you.
Call me when you're ready to do all that weeding, I'll help you.
Did he charge us at all for the gravel?
Has he sent you a bill? I was gonna ask you about that. I'll text him right now and say, hey, you need to, because he told me it would be $200 and he put the load there. And somebody said that a bunch of it had washed off down there. That's where the pile was.
Yeah.
That's not from a wash off. None of it's washed off. That's just where the pile is. And I told Paul, don't tear up the base there, getting the rest of that up. It's okay if there's a little bit there, that's okay. So that's where that came from, see?
Yeah, so no, I don't have anything. I
Okay.
haven't paid anybody for that.
I had not forgotten that.
I'll do it this way. Bob, are you donating the $200 of pea gravel to the,
Give me that opportunity.
you don't get it if you don't ask?
And that's my recollection of all the to-dos.
That's all we were on the follow-up that I did.
Did I miss any?
Sure, noisy Jim.
It's quacking.
Okay, no complaints, correct, for this quarter?
No, you weren't here.
None that I heard,
Oh, yeah, here.
or saw.
Or saw? Okay. All right, committee reports, ACC.
Okay,
Go ahead,
you want me to go, Bill, or you want to
Yeah.
read what I sent you?
go ahead, Gary.
Okay, it was a pretty slow quarter. The ACC approved the Beckman's exterior house colors for paint on September 1st. Mount Kimball is going to be forwarding $200 for the concrete pour that he did at his house. Number 3, we had a note to discuss the upcoming fee clarification on concrete pours. We were going to discuss
ACC has seen the, proposed changes to the review form. And it calls out max load of 5 yards, and any loads over 5 yards are subject to a $2,000 fee per truck. And it's and I think other, neighborhoods around the lake have not had a problem getting, concrete companies to adhere to the weight limits. So I don't think, from the concrete company standpoint, that shouldn't be an issue.
I agree, we just need to make sure to get the word out that we're gonna start holding hard and fast to that now, you know?
Yeah, we definitely need to drive that home. The other thing I changed is, new homes, breaking out, space, for porches or the house, porches, driveways, and garages at one rate, and then sidewalks and yard fireplaces at another rate. Is that gonna be a problem from a ACC review standpoint?
No, yeah, as long as we determine what that's gonna be, I mean, I say that, you know, the only dilemma you've got is telling them or doing it by the yard, is they're never gonna know exactly how many yards the pour is gonna be until after it's done.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll have an approximation, but you won't really know, exact volume of concrete until the pour is complete, so that's gonna be a little bit of a, you know, you're gonna get an estimate from them, and then they're gonna have to give you a final tally, and then you'll have to potentially get money from, the construction, post-construction, or return money if they don't use quite as much as they estimated.
But it's just a matter of making sure we're checking, the new home, or the construction as it goes along, right?
Yeah, we'll have to have each homeowner following that bit of construction, give us a final volume of concrete, and then we can square up with them when it's done.
Okay. The only other area that changed was on new concrete pours. For sidewalks, fire pits, patios, painting walls, it's dependent on volume. 90 days to complete, 30-day extension. Is that, you think that's reasonable?
Yeah, I'm still good with that. I just wanna talk about what that extension fee might be.
The $10 per yard? Oh, the extension.
That's the
Okay.
extension fee. I mean, I don't think an extension fee needs to be more than $50, because if they're getting an extension, that means the concrete pour hasn't been done yet, so the roads aren't affected, you know?
Okay.
Did we agree on, the time period for an extension? Cause I hadn't thought about that. I think it should be, 6 months. I think you gotta have it, but I don't think it needs to be 1 or 2, 3 months. Make it 6 months.
Are you talking about for the construction?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm asking them.
Oh, I was talking about
For
the
the
pour, you know, like,
We've never assessed the late fee for construction.
Yeah, we never.
Because we
never
have so
used-
many
utilized
people
the
that go
extension
over.
fee.
yeah, exactly.
But you wanna leave it in place, Gary's point this morning was if somebody abandons a house.
That's
Well,
exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah,
we wanna be able to
exactly.
take action.
That's what it's there for. It's just to protect the whole neighborhood, from somebody doing that. Then we're responsible for cleaning up the mess.
I'm fine with just a flat, fee on the extension for concrete. Just say $50.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and it doesn't hurt the residents. You know, we're trying to protect the roads without hurting the residents.
Exactly.
Also wanna welcome Mike and Lynn Guthier. They just walked up.
Hi, Gary.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
We're
Good.
good.
Okay, so I guess, we'll make the change, I'll make the change on the extension fee for the new concrete pours. And then we'll go ahead and get this, out on the website. And then we'll send out an email to all the owners talking about, the changes. So that there shouldn't be any questions about, the concrete. All right, last thing on ACC is the Lawrence is here, we need to talk about, the work they're having done at the house, and also, talk about the fact that, you guys live in an HOA, a POA. And when you bought out here, you agreed to follow the rules that are promulgated by the board. One of those is an ACC, committee that needs to approve, and generally, you're gonna find that the ACC does approve. It's not, you know, I think we have two things that we've disapproved or not approved over the 13 years that we've lived here, and one was a fence, and I'm not sure. I mean,
Bohemian house colors on a paint job.
so it's, I mean, it's, you know, if you buy.
And an above ground pool.
And an above ground.
That's right, yeah.
So, three things, yeah. So, number one, we'd like to know what it is you guys are doing out on your property. We haven't gotten a response from you yet. We've asked nicely, we, followed your, lead, making sure that we contacted you through your attorney, and we have yet to hear anything.
Am I okay to speak now? Are you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Number one, there's, the Pagets were on the ACC prior. Different things had been discussed with them prior to other jobs, but we don't even want to go there. We were never notified of rules being changed. This is the first, you were responded back through our attorney, who requested, number one, something to show that you'd notified us that we were in violation of the rules, or that the rules had changed.
And you've yet to respond to that.
And your response on that was that this was our third violation and some other things of that type of nature, all of which we were completely unaware of. We have never been contacted in any way, shape, or form. Even our rules state that you guys are supposed to at least give us a 30-day notification on things, that, hey, you're messing up, you need to do something. We heard about this, the first notification that we got on any of this was maybe less than 2 weeks ago, less than 10 days. Me trying to get off or schedule to be here today with with less than a 2-week notice, that takes a little bit of work. Different things on this. Authorization to change the rules. I understand the different stuff here and the wear and tear on the roads. No arguments. One suggestion. I don't think it's right for Mr. Barks, who his property is much shorter distance than Mr. Steed's or most of the other people here, that his road assessment fees that you charge for different things are the same. Myself, for me to bring a concrete truck in, it affects 300 yards of our roads at most. That's from the gate to the end of my property, versus anybody that lives in the horseshoe, anybody that lives past the bridge. But like I said, my first one was authorization to change the rules. And then to enforce these rules when we're not informed of them. Is it the board's belief that it's my responsibility to, after every meeting, go on the website and check the rules and see what you may or may not have changed without any notification or anything of that type?
Check it every day.
Or do I need to check it every day at the whim of the board?
Well,
My next one, which I've briefly alluded to. You need to inform people that they're in violation of the rules when they're about, several of the things that you brought up in your responses to our attorney is stuff that's over a year and a half, 18 months ago. I mean, nothing, this is the first work that we've had done in over 6 months, at least. And it's like, and 10 days, less than 10 days ago was our first notification of anything, that there was any issues with anything ever.
And it was blasted.
And then you put all this is the first and only time I've ever seen a homeowner's name in a negative connotation on the board meetings agenda. Granted, I've only been here for 3 or 4 years, and this is the first time we've had properties foreclosed on out here. A piece of property up at the corner just went to public auction last week. There was never, I'm sure those people hadn't paid their homeowners dues in a while if they didn't pay their taxes. So, yet, I've been to meetings in the past, their names were never given out during the meeting or on the sheet. Yet you put our name out here like we're a problem child in the community or something.
Or let me know when you're to your final list of, your final item on your list of things to discuss.
Will do, sir. Listening here tonight, on the rules, we need to, if we're gonna have these rules, then we gotta start enforcing all the rules, and they've gotta be enforced on every one. Okay, it just ain't right. It's pure harassment, in my opinion, because I've seen plenty of work. I've done work. And to come back now, that just doesn't seem, that's just, and I could give you various examples of things throughout our community that are in direct violation of our stuff, but I'm not gonna, there's no reason.
Well,
That I have other things, but you know what, I'm just gonna leave it at that, and,
we appreciate that, but the Architectural Control Committee has since 2014, well before you guys arrived, and on the old website, which unfortunately changed in January of this year, there was very clear message before doing any construction out on your property. You should contact the ACC committee and make sure everything, whatever you're planning to do, is within the rules. And quite honestly, because pretty much everything that whenever we have a discussion with you guys, it becomes contentious. We didn't do anything when you painted your house and when you had the solar panels applied to the house. Neither one of those require a fee, okay? And that's why the ACC did not address those. And my apologies, we should have at least sent something out to you just to make sure that everybody was aware of what was going on and if there were any issues. The concrete pour is the first one that we know of that you guys have done outside the house, where there because of the road damage, there needed to be some fees collected. So, my apologies on the first two, but on the first three, but the last one is the one that got our attention.
Inject.
And I did send that back to your attorney. Exactly, but basically, unfortunately, the Portland Concrete is her action. They have taken on the property where they have not notified the POA of intention, and there is an ACC fee charge. So that's why I responded back to Steve. And hopefully
After his request for information as to when those rules were changed.
There
When-
was no
There was-
question,
there
there
was-
was no question about rules being changed.
From
And
Steve.
these are not, this is an ACC, form, or an ACC review that's trying to make sure that we're not doing any damage to the properties. That's been in place for years. And we, you know, we always changed, or we always have charged fees for new construction. It's just that, and since December, since January, there's been a concrete fee in place, and that, numerous people have already paid,
Since January,
since January, yes.
and yet nobody's been, where was anybody notified of that?
It was discussed at the annual meeting.
So if I don't attend the meeting, or if I don't go online and read the minutes of the meeting, how?
Everyone that applied told us they were building something and sent in a form. It's on the website and has been since the creation of the
No.
homeowner association. Was told at that time, here's what it's gonna take, here's how it gets approved, and here's what it's gonna cost. So everybody that's poured any concrete this year has had a discussion with them because they first sent in a form saying, we're gonna do some work. Why you weren't talked to was because no form was ever sent saying we're doing work. The first anybody saw was forms going up and concrete trucks being here.
You're not on the board. We ask you not to speak to us.
Pardon?
You're not on the board,
He's
sir.
an officer.
He's not on the board. He's not an elected
I'm on
official.
the ACC.
Jennifer.
You're not listed.
Yes, I am. I am on the ACC.
Jennifer.
He's not on the ACC. Okay, he's not on the ACC. That's fine.
I think, because of, you know, some missteps, we are not gonna charge any fees, for the concrete that you pour, but we would like to know what it is you guys are doing. Is it just a PO, or what?
Say okay.
No
We'll,
problem.
we will email it to Barks.
We will, turn in the form
Okay,
and proceed from there.
perfect.
However-
Just, I mean.
Do you,
just
do you
put
at
in a-
least understand or recognize that your actions and the way that you have handled this, you say that it's been contentious with us. However, do you not see the hypocrisy and the contentiousness being applied to us from our view? As the-
Like I said, if
bringing
you
up,
would at least tell us what it is you guys are doing, I mean.
We
it's
have.
A simple thing.
It's
We
common
told the
sense.
pageants.
2 words, common sense. And you people have told us not to talk to you except through an attorney.
And we have yet to have any conversation other than just the other day. Hi, I'm Jennifer O'Kane.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Rob Nichols, and I am on the ACC.
Okay.
I think where the issue is here is an oversight on not submitting your form.
Yes.
And had you submitted the form, you would have known about the new fees. And the lack of communication, I have discussed with, I think, all of these people, except for maybe Frank, he's been out of town, that yes, when there is a change made, we need to announce it.
Please.
So, I see
Absolutely.
your point.
that's the
our-
number one thing.
And I promised him I wouldn't speak, but very nice to meet you. But I am going to speak. And the reason, and you are kind of new here, the reason that we do have an attorney is, yes, it has been very, very hostile here. And if you'd like the records, we can actually share that with you at a future date with our attorney. So with that being said, the board here and Mr. Barks, we will absolutely submit what everybody else has submitted for our backyard. We have no further plans at this point to put anything back there other than the concrete because the grass and the dirt that everybody could see was actually causing our house to rot up underneath, and we had to have it lifted. So we have the concrete and the information, and according to our bylaws or anything like that, it says if there's anything to fix the house. so I've read them, and I'm not trying to build anything different. And I have no problem. My general contractor happens to be the same general contractor that has done multiple homes here. Works currently with Mr. Barks. My painter currently works with Mr. Barks. It's not like we're trying to hide anything.
Right.
So welcome to the neighborhood. We've been here 4 years, going in February 9th, and this has been nothing new since January of 19, when I pointed out there were short-term rentals here. So unfortunately, we do apologize, but we'll email that directly. If you have an email, you can email me, please.
Okay.
Because we only have Mr. Barks, and I have direct orders from Mr. Barks not to contact him in any way, shape, or form, and that's actually through a police order of theirs.
Okay.
Going forward, just so you know a little bit of history, and I do apologize for speaking. Thank you for your time, board.
No, it's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's not like we thought you were trying to hide anything, because you can't miss it.
Right, right. And
So,
And
as far as the addition of concrete pricing, I really think it's a great idea. I really, really do. But I also want to indicate that when we moved in here, there was 15 homes. We have a little under $100,000 vehicle that have to go through these potholes,
yeah,
and
okay.
we didn't create any of them.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but we'll actually be a part of that. I think that's a great idea, but I would like to see that everybody else, just like the Kimballs has just been notified, they just got notified. So, and their name isn't on blast either. And that's a nice point.
I gotta talk to these people real quick. They're looking at this lot here.
Oh, awesome,
And I
absolutely.
would find out.
Oh, and I met you and your wife when you guys were building that house, huh?
Yeah, we can't wait till it's done.
I love your brickwork.
We have any other discussion around ACC?
I have a question, actually.
Gary, are you still there?
I think that
Okay.
we didn't get to hear the whole conversation about concrete and stuff, so I'm not sure what that was about. But just since what I've heard, I think we might be in violation because we don't think about the POA rules every day or when we're doing things around the house. We had on our lot that adjoins the house lot, we had the retaining wall put in. And I didn't go out and look and see if we needed to notify anyone or fill out an application. Should we have done that?
Retaining walls if you look at the ACC, it clearly says retaining walls don't. You don't have to follow.
The only front line is
Above the ground.
and that's 50 feet.
Right.
So what Rob and Gary and I attempted to do is, I haven't been here all summer, so I didn't see it. But if there's work being done, somebody has to set something, to go to them and say, hey, you need to send in a form, here's what it is. If we see something going on that doesn't require anything from the ACC, there's no sense telling us, hey, you don't need to send us anything.
Okay,
Why
all
would you-
right, I have another question. We were on the Zoom meeting in April, and I believe that's when it was mentioned about assessing a fee of $100 for construction trucks. And we voted on it. We said yes. Was that, I think it was April.
Number one, in April,
It was
that's a
January.
board meeting.
Was it January? Oh,
Because our January the annual.
okay.
We're on the same page.
But I've looked and I can't see in any of the meetings, because I requested,
The minutes.
or he requested, the January and the April meeting, because I was concerned about that. And I don't see any mention of a vote on that fee that was supposed to be applied for construction work going on and for trucks, for cement trucks and
No,
building trucks. Did you not apply it?
Number one, we do not have the construction fee that we charge. We have the ACC.
Yeah.
When an ACC, request is filed, they determine what's going on, and, you know, if it's a house being built, there is a fee charge for that, but it's not per construction.
Oh, it's not per construction or per truck?
It's per square foot of the home that you're building and.
Well, that I know,
And
because we have
we
that.
clarified that it's also including the porches and the garage.
Right.
There was an issue about that once or
Right.
twice.
Yeah.
That's all been clarified.
Yeah, we noticed that as well.
Yeah, I misunderstood, cause I thought we were voting a fee for the heavy trucks. They're the ones chewing up
That's,
the
so there
road.
is no fee for trucks.
That's why it's on the agenda, that's why we talked about it.
Okay, okay, cause we were under the impression that the people who were building were now being assessed a fee for their heavy equipment trucks, no? No, okay, then I think I have, my other question has to do with the homes. I don't know if it's ACC or not, so it may not be Gary. The man who started VRBOs, whoever he is in the country or Texas or whatever, he publicly is supporting 20,000 refugees and has asked that VRBO owners, right, put their houses up. I would like to know, since we have VRBOs, if our owners are either have participated in that, so we have refugees here, if they're going to participate, or whatever. Because that would be something that all homeowners need to know about. We don't have any, haven't had any,
On the,
that you're aware of, okay.
yeah.
No. And I want you to kind of go back, think about, when you think about the concrete trucks coming in here, when they're building a home, the reality is the fee that you pay per square foot, that covers those concrete trucks.
Okay,
What we're doing is we're trying to, discuss in the sensibility of having a fee if later you wanna pour sidewalks and later concrete trucks come in here, say pool or something like that. Or a pool, or, the main thing is you see is, maybe concrete for, like a fire pit.
Yeah.
Okay, or the sidewalk that covers the retaining wall. By the way, if you do that, make sure that your concrete goes over the top of the retaining wall, all the way to the edge. So anyway, in addition to that, we're already, all of us are paying fees when we built our home.
okay, I mean, we're for it, we
Yeah.
wanna keep the roads up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we understood what the
Yeah, and that's,
rules are, because we didn't see anything posted for what we thought, for cement trucks coming in, and if that was the case, we wanted to make sure, because there's been so much building here, well, actually, Gary had made note of 2, I think, in the, annual meeting, and 4 in the April meeting, so that's 6 houses under construction.
Oh, yeah.
And we're thinking, who's watching to see how many heavy equipment trucks come in so they can pay this fee?
Yeah.
And I thought, gee, maybe we'll have enough for streetlights.
There you go.
what do we charge you per square foot? Does anybody off the top of your head remember?
50 cents.
50 cents, it's 50 cents a square foot. You sure that's it? It's 50 cents?
Yeah, that's from the sessions. I have a question, and I do
Hold on,
apologize.
before you do it. On the opposite side, outside of concrete, if you have a dump truck bringing in dirt, like you want to backfill or.
If we get the chance to talk about that, we have worked with another, neighborhood in the area, Arrowhead.
Yeah.
And they have you need to go over there sometime and look at the roads. The roads are in very good shape. They have a, I think it's 10-page document they make you fill out before you do any kind of construction.
Okay.
And in there, they also cover some things about, heavy loads of things other than concrete.
Right.
And should there be an assessment on that? And we're still in the middle of discussing that, but I think we also need to make sure that we are covering ourselves for these, large loads of.
Well, we need to have dirt brought in, so that's why he's asking.
Right.
So we would like to know before we're in violation of something.
Right now, there's nothing on the books.
That's right.
Okay.
We're talking
Well,
about
not
it.
exactly, Bill.
Oh.
That's not exactly correct.
Okay.
There is a 40,000 pound weight limit on trucks, so if you're anticipating bringing dirt in at a minimum, it can't be a long dump or a dump and a pup.
Be a half.
It can be a maximum, just a small 12-yard, 10-12-yard dump truck only. So that is one relevant point, although most of the guys in the area only use that smaller single dump, but I think that's relevant to note.
Okay, yes, thank you. So we need to ask, cause we usually get from King, we need to ask then how heavy the load in the truck is?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, one final note, as an observer,
Yeah.
I'm in total agreement. I'm horrified that I've seen the Lawrence's name on the agenda. I have never, ever, since, in our 2 years here and our 3 years of owning property and getting from Gail and everybody else all the agendas, I've never seen the board mention anybody by name.
If there is going to be a discussion of fees or fines, that homeowner has to be notified and.
Well, they have to be notified, Frank, but they don't have, that doesn't
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
be public.
They're, under state law, their name has to be on the agenda before you can have that discussion and take any action.
Could
That
you
is the
please
only-
point me to the agendas where you've had property owners who are in default of their homeowner fees? I'm sorry, I do not agree. When I printed the agenda yesterday, I was horrified.
I understand that, but again, it has to be there if there's going to be a discussion, and when there have been, in
Maybe
a
that's
couple of
one
instances
side
where there have
passed.
been specific
The
discussions
name wasn't mentioned.
of individuals, their names have been listed in the past, but that's been over the 15 years that we've been.
Jennifer's been patiently waiting.
Thank you. But
I just,
But,
that was just my
but-
opinion.
And the reason I'm addressing you is because there has been a lot of tension at the table, and I'm glad that there is a neutral party. There has been a lot of foreclosures on the property. It's kind to say that it's but with the history that's been going on with the board, the actual people that are here and on the phone, there have been police involved. They've tried to get me arrested. So there's a lot of things that they've done, and they've made it clear that they don't want us here.
Well,
I've
unfortunately.
got the floor.
No,
Please, sir. Can I?
Unfortunately,
I am being kind and
I have
being.
been subject to an F-bomb loaded tirade from you.
Absolutely.
Your husband finally had to step in and get the dogs off the road. And
So-
I thanked him for it while you're throwing F-bomb at me the whole time. That's uncalled for.
So I have
And that's
nothing to
not-
say other than I was completely out of line. It was disrespectful, and as a female, I shouldn't even speak that way. I have an attorney that I have to pay hourly. They have yet to provide an attorney for my attorney to go with what's been planted and what's already been done to me, the Pageants, the Moores, the Conways. There's a list of us. And Kimball's a very good man, and you can actually go and I can send it to you, the demand letter, the things that have gone on. So the tension here, absolutely, it was 100% wrong. We have strays, they go out in the street, I apologize.
Okay, but we try
Hang on a
and
second.
alleviate this tension.
Wait. Let me just say this. My wife and I are new here. We've owned the property for about 2 years. We're building our dream home here. And yes, we've heard in the meetings about some things in the past. Let me just say this. We're a community. Let's stay together, let's forget the past and move forward as properly as we can. I would love to see that.
And I agree with that 100%. I do have an unpaid bill of $5,000 that they have to address still with my attorney. And I would like that to be addressed, and they understand what I'm talking about. And that's what the police documents of falsifying, and they can speak to my attorney.
I'm sorry.
And I'm addressing you with this so you understand how deep this is. So with that said, absolutely, I want to live here in peace. I absolutely do. I live at the corner. This is my dream home. I think it's everybody's dream home, and that's why we moved here. That's absolutely why we moved here, and you're gonna love it as long as you stay out of the drama.
Yeah.
But I will, if you give me my email, I will absolutely
All right,
send it to
I
you.
would like to move on. Is there any other discussions around ACC?
May I interject just briefly, sir?
Hmm?
The only thing I want to add, and I'm glad to hear that you're looking at other heavy loads. And as Mr. Barks had brought up about the size of the dirt trucks,
Yeah.
one thing that I would suggest that we also include is any semis coming in, specifically the sod trucks. there's an extreme weight on those on those trailers.
Did you say fire trucks?
Sod,
Sod trucks, okay.
there's been multiple, semis.
Mhm.
And I'm impressed that they actually make the corners
Yeah,
with loads of sod as people are putting in their yards.
that's a good
And I
point.
know that, as you said, Mr. Kilgore, about the assessments to the concrete, the square footage, the patios and what have you. And I would just like to suggest that sod type things, just something to consider. And the last is to reiterate that I do believe that it should be prorated based on how much of the road you actually have to use for these changes to your property. I don't feel that people at the front of our community should be assessed the same as people that use a half mile of road versus somebody that uses a quarter mile of road. My opinion.
That's a good point. I would've never thought of that.
We'll take that under advisement. I'm gonna figure out how we're gonna, we tried to do some road distance, assessments before, and they think run into problems, so we will take that under advisement. I appreciate that. Last thing, before we move off ACC, is I would like the ACC committee to really take a look at this information we got from Arrowhead and see what we can incorporate into, without the level of scrutiny that Mr. Jordan has to go through to do this work. I mean, he goes out and he takes pictures before and after. They put down $5,000 deposits before they do any work. There's all sorts of, I don't wanna go into that level, but I do wanna make sure we get the high points, get the sod trucks, get the heavy deliveries of sheet rock or whatever else.
Yep.
Make sure that we're encompassing those things in what we know is gonna mess up our roads, and make sure we get those covered.
Yeah.
The Bassett Road Crew is approaching Medicare age. We put 1,750 pounds of asphalt in these potholes 3 or 4 weeks ago.
What are you talking about?
We busted our butts.
I think what we need to do is come up with a weight limit, because now that we're bringing all this up and discussing all the different types of trucks coming in, we've also gotta consider moving trucks. You know, some moving trucks come in with a semi-sized trailer.
Right.
Or an extra large bobtail. If we're gonna look at it all, we got.
Don't
maybe
discriminate.
Come up with a truck weight limit and assess the fee if it's over that weight limit.
Wouldn't all trucks apply to what Gary said, though, that anything over 40,000
Yeah.
pounds, regardless of what it is, I mean, you could put it in like examples for all that you can think of, but anything over 40,000 pounds, if that's where you want to set the
And
limit.
not at 210.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Gary,
Gary?
Is the 40,000 pounds, that's the maximum load you can bring in on the road?
Without being assessed.
I don't recall if it's in the CCRs or the ACC guidelines, but there is a notation in there that 40,000 pounds is the max limit. Now, as we discussed though, an empty concrete truck weighs about 40,000 pounds already. So we can't hold that to a 100% T as far as concrete truck delivery, or you could never bring anything but an empty truck. So we set the limit at a maximum of a half load of concrete or 5 yards as the max that we can do on concrete trucks. But there's some other things that we can do on some of the other types of vehicles that we've discussed here, like the sod or the sheetrock or dirt, rock, whatever the big trucks are. So I think it's a great point, and I would love to take a look at what that other subdivision has in their restrictions. I
Yeah,
think
so the maximum load is 40,000 pounds. I think what we need to do is set anything over 10,000 pounds coming in gets assessed a fee. That's just I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah, I agree. But I wanna make sure we explore that and move forward with it.
Okay.
Okay?
On different than the ACCs. I need permission to go back to what was already brought to the table about the short-term rentals and the immigrants. I do want to make sure that, you know, we can't tell people what to do in their own homes. I do remember the board saying that. And so I do want to ask the board to look at that, because we do have the two here in the property.
Okay, he's making that,
I greatly appreciate that.
okay.
All right, any other discussion on ACC?
Nothing else?
Nothing here.
All right, let's move on. Gate. Paul was, interim gate czar while Frank and Gail were gone.
He made the monthly changes to the temporary code and did, I think y'all issued one new transmitter to replace a broken one for Mark Kelly.
I think we've had some property transactions or transfers that we need to make sure we take them.
Yeah, all the, anybody that has sold has come out, anybody that's purchased has new in. I do understand that there's a new short-term rental property that's being used, and we'll need to contact them and make sure they use the temporary gate code and not their own gate code.
Okay.
How many do we have in here now?
How many
Short-term rentals?
residents?
No, short-term rentals.
To my knowledge, two.
Not 8, as was
No.
envisioned.
One is
Cliff no
two.
longer does it. Gary does it occasionally. And the, new people that bought the Hammers house, I understand, just recently did
On the weekend.
a weekend run.
All right, any other discussion around Gate?
Oh, the Hammers sold their house.
Website, website has been updated. I am going to expand the or probably add another page for ACC, put it back like it was before, make sure it's front and center on what's, you know, if you're doing anything, please contact ACC,
It's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea, especially with,
And it's currently on the
Possible
front
changes
page.
coming
When
up.
you open it up, it says, if you're doing any work, contact the ACC.
It's a nice website, by the way.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Thank him. He's done a lot of
Bill,
work.
Bill did it?
yeah,
He's done a lot of work.
very nice.
Yeah,
Is, so,
it shows every
it
time
the-
it's been edited.
is it,
I have a landscaping report.
so are we saying that for people to stay updated on changes and everything else, it is their responsibility to go to the website to find these things?
The website is where you're supposed to go to get informed. If you're not attending meetings or things like that, or contacting the board.
I'm just thinking in advance,
And
on making sure that people are notified of changes.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I bring it up, and just to clarify, is that the board's position on how people are to be notified
board-
of changes and
The
things.
board sends out emails when things occur. I get very few responses to those, and for the safety of the owners, everybody is blind copy, okay? And I get very few responses to any of those emails.
I've never
I probably
gotten-
don't send out enough.
Have you ever gotten them?
But
We,
Well, first of all, we don't have everybody's email anyway.
Mine's been the same since we've been
You
here.
should have everybody's
Yeah.
We do.
email
Yeah,
address.
I know, wait, they have
The
ours.
board has everybody's email.
Yeah.
and like I said, I'm just trying to clarify to make sure,
It should be an
That's it.
email.
I'm not trying to,
I agree with you.
And it used to be. I mean,
Significant changes need to be announced.
Yeah.
And there is a way, and I would be glad to do this, there is a way to send out a mass email,
I do that.
okay, through like Constant Contact or something. Everybody else's email address is protected, okay.
Excuse me, Bill, I would really like to make sure you have our email then, because we haven't gotten any emails.
nor have we.
and
It
I
could
know
go
the,
to your junk box too.
No, I checked that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I-
Get so many,
I
it's
always
like,
check.
oh, delete that whole folder.
This detail here goes everywhere.
yeah, make sure you get ours too, cause we don't get it either.
Okay.
So, I do appreciate that.
Are you ready?
But I
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't have my.
I have one more question. It's really important, and it's off the ACCs.
Send it to them.
Back,
I'm just gonna get rid of mine. Oh, I see.
no, I'm not still here. I'm just going to ask. It's important, and correct me if I'm wrong. I have a question. When we had the big bash about the short-term rentals, and we had that big situation, I thought it was understood that when the home sold, the home short-term rental stopped in that house. So I just heard that the Hammer sold that short-term rental, and the new people have now started using it as a short-term rental? Thank you.
The Hammers did not do short-term rentals.
Okay, the big house that sold oh no, not the Hammers, or any house. So now we have 3 houses?
No, he said there's 2 owners that
Have done short-term rentals that I'm aware of.
Okay, but the Hammers have never short-term rented, and they just
that's
sold
correct.
their house, and you said that they did a short-term rental.
But again, there's nothing about whether somebody sells or not. The board still can't do anything to a personal property owner that tells them what they can do with their property.
I just want to know if we have another short-term rental, if that's what's going on. For
I
my
was told-
real estate.
I was told yesterday that the people that bought the Hammers house last weekend had a short-term rental.
So,
I don't know, I wasn't here. I was just
yes,
told
they did. Yeah,
yesterday it was.
I ran into
And
them.
what I will do is make sure that they are aware of the fact that we ask the people that do that to use temporary codes, not their permanent codes, so that people that rent don't wind up with a number that gets them in whenever they wanna come in.
Okay, and can we also put it on the website that we now have 3 short-term rentals, please? Because,
We have 2.
Just leave it.
we have 2, and no, we're not gonna put that on the website.
You're missing the point that Cliff no longer does it.
so,
One of the houses.
so Cliff, thank you for saying that. Miss
Is Kevin Cliff?
Kevin
does it.
Cliff no longer does his,
That's correct.
okay?
Yeah.
So now we do have possibly, good possibility, a different one in the location here. That's logical to ask that question, right?
We weren't allowing
I-
that after that major meeting. I thought it was whoever was in it already, okay, grandfathered, but no more. Didn't it?
No.
No?
That just don't.
That was discussed, it was offered up, it was refused by the people that didn't want them at all, and it never went
That's
anywhere.
what we wanted to do, but everybody voted no.
So it was voted to make no
In
change.
fact, after one of the planning and zoning committees, I recommended that, I got yelled and screamed at outside of the room.
Oh, well, it wasn't me yelling and screaming at you, that's for sure.
In fact, that's what the planning and zoning committee recommended we do.
I think that ought to be brought up again. You don't wanna
Tired of
have,
bringing
you
it
don't
up
wanna
over
turn Francisco
and over
Bay
again.
into,
Again,
I
the
know that's
Supreme Court,
different,
the
but-
Texas Supreme Court ruling has not changed. You cannot tell a property owner what they can or can't do with their property, and so the board has no,
I just know
No
that
ability to do that.
Arlington and Irving and places like that in Texas aren't going down on it. They only have so many months to convert.
Well,
So, besides that, this is just a local thing. I just thought we weren't gonna allow it. That's all. It was just what I thought.
I'm just on the ACC, I'm not a major board member, but my opinion is, I've heard both sides of what's going on in the past, and I think the only way to make this go away, because it seems like it's not gonna go away, is to do something about it, grandfather the people who live here now, and block anymore.
Yeah, that's what I thought we did, but I guess I was wrong.
That's the best you're gonna be able to do.
you cannot go back in time and tell people what to do with their property. Because again, we went through this whole thing, we had 3 rounds of meetings, we had a huge vote in the neighborhood at quite an expense to everybody for doing it. And it was decided that 75% of the homeowners here did not want to do anything. And so no action was taken.
I don't recall it where we didn't wanna do anything, cause I was one of those who was against having the VRBOs.
There were-
But I was also one who said, grandfather those in, cause you guys were one of them. I said, we're not interested in taking away what you have, we just don't want any more.
Again,
Yeah.
that whole
So-
thing was discussed, there was
Okay,
a
so
vote.
it's over and
with.
done, it's over and done, nobody's asking to go back, but why can't we do what Rob is saying? At your next meeting or your next annual meeting, have it on the agenda again, so the people who are coming in are trying to short-term rent their homes. Well, I'm not against long-term rentals either, I just don't want vacationers coming in. You
And
know,
anybody can request for the annual meeting to put something on the agenda.
okay, well, I requested,
So what do you need, an email from us? Is that what you need? Sure.
we just
But
don't
again,
wanna be a
Have to
transient
change the
community.
CCRs.
Would you guys be in agreement with a grandfather clause? Cause that's the
Rob?
only.
You have to change the
So,
CCRs. And
sir,
it has to be,
since
the
you-
only way you can change the CCRs is by 66 2/3% vote of the membership.
And I,
So, when we had 75% of the people at the last meeting say they didn't wanna change, and so we go through that exercise again, and probably not change, but that, you know, but that's the only way you can do it, is to change our CCRs to disallow, or to only allow like
Right, I
6
understand.
months or a year or whatever, which is what some of the
Which is
subdivisions
a
do.
very expensive process, and that's why most of the people voted not to do it. And again,
Can't you
it-
do an
it is-
addendum?
it's still a non-issue, there have been no problems. If we had, as I watched on the news this morning, somebody having 40 people every weekend rent out their place and having parties, there's still things the board could do to stop that without changing the CCRs and addressing short-term rentals. We've had no issues. I
Yeah,
understand some
and-
people don't want it, but there has never been a problem with anybody that's rented here, short or long-term, causing an issue. All the issues that we've ever had and addressed in complaints have been from homeowners. So, I think yes, it's a problem, yes, some people don't want it, we've done it, we don't do it anymore, you know, but the law is the law. And until, I don't know why we keep, having a solution for a problem that doesn't exist.
Cause all the
And that's what 75% of the people that own properties here finally said was, we don't need to change this, we don't have any problems.
Well, we don't need to change it because we thought it was very clear that VRBOs were not allowed.
That's not very clear.
Okay, it was to us when we purchased the land, it was to other people.
That-
The way it's written, it's the way it was written to us, our
And
opinions.
I still have
our
that video,
understanding.
by the way.
That's why
I'll
we
shut
didn't
up
wanna
because it's Bill's
change
meeting
it.
to run, but we've been down that road. There are still people that read the same CCRs that we do and disagree. We've had a neighbor send a letter to the person that rented last weekend, telling them again that they can't run a business in their home. That's not correct, and the board's not gonna take that action. I don't think, unless you change the board.
Well, we're not asking the board to take action on any of it. We're just trying to tell you what it reads to us.
That's fine.
He still has his hand up.
Michelle.
No, I'm trying to help us get moved on.
Oh.
I
Well,
wanna
that's still
talk-
your hand
I
up.
wanna talk about financials, if we're gonna get there.
We've already gone.
Yeah.
through it.
This one.
Send me an email with anything that you wanna put on the agenda for the annual. Sure. Everything else, let's get through our regular committee meetings, and then at new business, if there's still things that you wanna discuss.
Well, I can sit down with I wish I could have remembered her names.
Landscaping. You said you had a report.
From Gail, we will continue to monitor the entrance to Francisco Bay until next spring and will determine what action to be taken at that time regarding breach damage that was done earlier this year. Many of the existing plants are continuing to thrive, and we will wait to see how they do during the coming winter.
They look good. Yeah, just spray.
Everybody needs to spray their crack burns,
Yep.
including
That
us.
black stuff.
Mowing, we had, I was gonna send out another, notice for those people that didn't catch their buffalo grass. There's about 4 lots, so I need to do that.
Could I say something here for Michelle? He's not on his John Deere because he's had surgery on his eyes. He can't be on, so if you see any, I call it wheat. I don't know how to do the John Deere, but he's got one last follow-up appointment with the doctor this coming week. So she has told him, the surgeon has told him, he cannot be on the John Deere. So,
Instead of jumping around, but.
I told him to get out there with glasses on and do a weed whacker, but he's not supposed to do that either.
Well,
He's both eyes, so.
I haven't seen anything on the property that I was seeing outside.
I made groups on the 18 inches before it gets, I can get on.
But I will, there's about 4 or 5 lots that I do need to send somebody off.
Cataract?
Pool and pavilion.
Well, we got it covered before the leaves all come down, which is always my goal, cause it's a pain to get all those leaves out. I will contact David now and see about getting a work order in to get them out here. I think we need to go ahead and drain that pool and see about resurfacing the granite, and then doing some tile work. Oh, the other thing he did say, he said that, he recommended that if, not to, just put the tiles back on there, he recommended taking all of them off and just redoing the whole thing.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Cause we're running with money.
Yeah. I told him the, Phantom Pool crew will get out here and help him. So, anyway, no, I will follow up on that. I do agree, I think we just need to just do some patch stuff. And then, of course, I wanna thank Rob and Paul for helping me put this pig gravel out. And we did get it from Bobby, and Bobby's gonna send you the invoice via email, Phil.
Oh,
Okay? It's $200 for all the pig gravel.
thank you. Roads, as Jimbo notified everybody, we put down 35 bags of coal patch, about a month and a half ago. Paul, Jim, and myself, the nice thing about having Paul in the neighborhood, he's got all kinds of tools. We used his motor compactor to put all that, to really, compact, all the coal patch. And we've gone through a small rain, two small rain events, and all those patches appear to be holding up pretty well. We also put down, emulsion and then the hot patch, and then packed it down real good. So it appears to be working pretty well. The only problem is, we've got a lot of places where they're not potholes, it's just kind of sliding off. So I
Some
think,
big spots.
yeah, our next, whenever it gets warm enough again, we're gonna try to do the same operation to those kind of patches and see how.
Did you get a chance to look at the AmericanRoadPatch.com and that product? What it is, and it looked really good. It's a roll, about 4 or 5 feet, about 4 feet wide, and you roll it out, and one side of it has got the tar and the gravel in it. The other side's got plastic, so you roll it out, you cut it, and you just roll it out and cover the whole thing. If it's 10 feet long, you roll out 10 feet of it. It's probably about 100 foot, you buy it by the roll. And, then you cut it, and you lay it down, and then you go over it with the packer, and from what I'm reading, it is fantastic, because what it does, it keeps moisture from getting into those holes, and that's what we're talking about. So I want you to look at that. Paul, I sent it to Paul too. It's called the AmericanRoadPatch.com, and it's a newer product that's been out for about 4 years.
Paul said he's also talked with Kevin Ganter about bringing down a trailer that he's got and getting a load of hot patch and being able to do the same thing you've done, to do it with hot this time, and using the trailer that's equipped to do that. So they're
Probably gonna have to
look
do
at that in the
something.
spring.
One of the things I didn't see on here, it did say how much each one of those rolls cost.
I thought
I was
Paul
very
was
curious.
looking at, and they're very pricey.
Oh, he did?
And they're small, so, you know, like up there, they're huge.
Well, yeah,
So, yeah, I don't-
that's the big problem.
I thought Paul did look at it and thought they were really.
I'll talk to him
pricey.
about, he's at the deer lease right now, cause I called him to see if he wanted to come. But that is an option, that we could go ahead and do the hot patch thing or whatever, like we've done before, and then put this over the top of it, and that'll keep any moisture from getting in it at all. But it may not be cost effective, you just have to see how much it costs.
Sure is hard to find somebody to work on them. We thought we had a guy and he just disappeared again. They all disappeared.
Well, I wanna thank you guys, thank you very much for fixing the roads, it looks great. I know that's time consuming for you guys
Well, it
to
was hot
get
as
in.
hell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully we can stay on top.
Well,
Hopefully we don't get too much rain this spring.
But the other two guys got, Nancy's famous chocolate chip, muffins with cheesecake on top. Oh, it was freaking amazing. She's bringing them to the Halloween party.
So it's the directory, I've got a couple of, we've got 2 new owners that I need to add to the directory.
One I know of, that I think of.
Do we get a new directory this year or beginning of next year?
You get, there's a directory that's, updated whenever we have property changes. So,
On the website.
on the website.
On the website, so can we, is it something we can print?
Yeah.
Yeah? So you've
I would-
already incorporated our,
No, like I said, I've got 2 more changes that I need to make.
and we're one of them?
Oh,
Yes, yes,
Our
you are.
lot?
Yeah.
replat.
that wouldn't really be on the directory.
It's
Oh,
on
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
It's
it
on
would,
there.
it would, that's right.
So
that's-
So I shouldn't print it yet?
Yeah, don't print it, yours has been updated in the directory, the master that I keep, it hasn't been published, so don't grab it yet, I need to go make changes
Xenon,
for Xenon and,
Yeah, Xenon's sold, if y'all taking theirs out.
I think Xenon.
Like, if you had sent the directory, we don't know what's been done.
Okay.
So I need to, update the directory for the, latest changes and get that out there. And I will send an email out saying that the directory's been up.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
Any question or any updates from social committee?
Do we have a social media?
I'm just gonna ask the same thing, Nancy.
No report.
No report.
I guess it was Gail.
The pandemic.
Trying to kill it. Alright, so we're down to new business. You have some questions about financials?
I can sit down with Nancy, and it's a real simple question.
Judy.
Any other questions, any other new business?
No.
Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
You second that.
Second.
So we're quiet, Gary.